Smile, please. Click. You should be on the cover of a family magazine. So perfect. I fake a smile and walk past the photographer. To the outside world, we have it all. A big house, cars, money, and my parents' perfect marriage. But what goes on inside the house is another story. Hi, I'm Fatima from Afghanistan, and this is how I made my jerk dad regret having me as a daughter. But before I continue, click like and subscribe. Mom and Dad were high school sweethearts, but their parents were dead set against the match from the start. Dad took a stand and got married to her anyway, cutting off all ties with his family. Mom was so blindly in love with him after this because she thought he was her real-life Romeo. But sadly, it didn't last. Dad was pretty mean with me and my elder sister Sasha when we were growing up. Once, I ran up to him excitedly to show him my report card full of A's. He tossed it aside without even looking at it.
So what? Anyone can study and get good grades. It doesn't make you special.
He never let me participate in any math international competition, saying,
"You can't leave the country. Girls should be raised to be good wives. Period."
Once, the principal called my parents and told them I should be transferred to another school for gifted students. Dad lost his mind and started yelling at the principal.
"You all feminist women, trying to poison our daughters."
As soon as we hit our teens, Dad made our lives a living hell. Suddenly, we weren't allowed to do anything or go anywhere on our own. Soon, he started criticizing the clothes we wore and said they were too revealing. Once, we were getting ready to go to a wedding. When our dad came to our room to see if we were dressed properly, he took one look at us and lost it.
"Go, wash your face. You look so ugly."
We were angry, but we did as he said. When we reached the wedding, though, once again, he became the doting father. What a hypocrite! Men and women are separated in these weddings, so I told Sasha that we could put our makeup on again and enjoy our night. And so we did. My brother didn't have these problems. He was Dad's little pet. God, he even got a cell phone at 8. Dad kept telling him he was the man of the house, and he had to keep us women in check. It seemed like Dad was getting more paranoid by the day. He shifted our computer in the lounge so he could see what we were doing. He threatened to kick us out of the house if we even mentioned having social media accounts. One day, when Dad wasn't home, I decided to set up a Facebook account. I wanted to join all the math groups on Facebook, but as soon as Dad entered, my stupid brother ratted me out. Dad went from normal to the Hulk in less than 5 seconds.
"How dare you? I told you to never make a Facebook account. Are you that desperate to find a boyfriend? No one will want you anyway because you're ugly."
Dad, I'm old enough to have a Facebook account. Dad got mad and disconnected the Wi-Fi. I tried talking to Mom about it, but it was pointless. She never saw any fault with anything he did. He's your father. He knows what's best for you. The next thing we knew, he pulled us out of school and enrolled us in an all-girls institution. I couldn't believe it. This is so unfair. All my friends are here. You can't do this.
I can. And I have. If you want to live under my roof, you will do as I say.
I couldn't let him get away with it. If he wanted to play hardball, then I'd learn from the best. He invited his friends over for dinner a week later, and it was the perfect opportunity to get a little revenge. When Sasha and I came down to greet the guests, Dad almost choked on his tea.
"What are you wearing?"
"You said we should dress to impress your rich friends." Dad shot Mom an angry stare, and she hurriedly dragged us out of the room. Strike one, and Dad was livid. For our stunt, he cut off our allowance and refused to give either of us any money. It was worth it. And it was okay because I was one of the best students in the class and kids were always asking me to tutor them. I lied to Dad and said my math teacher was forcing me to take extra classes because I was really dumb, and he easily bought it. So I started tutoring a bunch of kids after hours in school, and I was making good money. A month went by, and one afternoon at school, right in the middle of a lesson, the door suddenly burst open. I turned in horror to see it was Dad, looking mad as a raging bull.
"You take me for a fool, girl? Pack your things this minute."
I felt humiliated in front of my classmates, and I didn't want to make things worse, so I left with him. When we got home, he screamed at me some more and insisted I give him all the money I'd made tutoring, but I refused.
"Fine, but make sure it lasts, because there's no way you'll be making any more."
Dad kept a strict eye on me after that to make sure I got home right after school. At first, I thought there was no way I could teach anymore, but then I came up with a brilliant idea. Dad was always away hanging out with his friends in the evenings, so I decided to sneak students into my basement. I told Sasha all about my plan, and it was her job to make sure Mom and my brother wouldn't find out, and I was back in business. A few weeks later, while I was teaching, the door suddenly opened, and my brother was standing there. Sasha was right behind him, crying and saying that she was really sorry. My brother took one look around the room and said, "Just wait till Dad gets home. You'll be in so much trouble." I ran after him and grabbed him by the shoulders. "Listen here, you little idiot. What will it take to keep your mouth shut?" He thought about it for a few moments and then told me I had to give him half of whatever I was making. As if I was going to tell him how much that actually was. I agreed to it, and he kept his mouth shut. But I was always a little afraid he'd rat me out. A few days later, when the kids were entering the basement, I saw a boy staring at me. He was a few years older than me. He stepped closer and was about to say something when my brother jumped out from behind him and said, "Are you lost, kid? Need any help?" He was so annoying. The boy looked embarrassed and left. That night, I knew a new family moved in next door, and I was excited to have new neighbors. That evening, they came over to introduce themselves. With them was the boy I'd seen earlier. He was their son. Mom and Dad were so warm and welcoming with the neighbors. I smiled at how nice it felt to have a normal moment, but it didn't last. The moment the neighbors were out the door, Dad was at my throat again.
"I saw the way you were looking at him. We know nothing about them. He could be a criminal."
The next thing I knew, Dad was boarding up the windows in my room. He really was a lunatic. After that, things just kept getting worse. I'd saved up enough money to buy myself a phone, and I was so excited the day I got it. I snuck into my closet and took it out of the box and started browsing and downloading apps. I was finally able to access my Facebook account too. My excitement was short-lived though, because I came across a page that made my heart stop. Dad was on Facebook, and his profile was just pictures of him with strange women. The things on his page and his friends list made me cringe. I had no idea he was such a cheater. What would Mom say? I quickly ran to Sasha's room to show her what I'd found. She scrolled through the pages and sank down on the bed in disbelief.
He wasn't trying to keep us safe from the cruel world. He was only trying to save himself from being exposed and make sure we never found out the truth about him.
It's disgusting. Come on, we have to tell Mom. We ran to Mom's room where she was busy fixing her hair in front of the mirror. "Mom, I need you to look at something."
"I don't have time. Your dad will be here to pick me up soon."
"But Mom, it's about Dad." She looked at the phone and then back at us. I was expecting her to be angry with him, but instead, she started yelling at us.
"How dare you talk about your dad like this, after everything he's done for you?"
And with that, she stormed out of the room. We were in shock. Was she really that stupid? Or just in denial? The next morning, when Sasha and I reached school, her friend came up to her and said, "Sash, isn't this your dad?" I wanted the ground to swallow me up. Dad was trying to befriend girls from my school? The man was disgusting.
It must be a fake account.
Sasha walked quickly away to her class. Mom was still in denial. It was so annoying to see her make his favorite dishes every day and do his laundry. I just need to get her to open her eyes somehow. When Dad left on another overnight trip, we tried to talk to Mom again. We showed her Dad's Facebook page along with his friend requests to the girls at my school. But her reply shocked us. "You girls are ungrateful. Making a fake account just to get me to agree with you? You should be ashamed." "Mom, you've got to be kidding. You can't still think he's innocent." We were trying to convince her when we saw a shadow block the doorway. The blood drained from my face. Dad was standing right behind us. You're back early, honey." Dad looked like he was gonna erupt. He walked up to me and wrenched my phone out of my hand.
"You wretched creatures, openly going against me, feeding lies to my wife? And where did you get this phone?"
I stared at him silently, and my brother popped up behind him. "She teaches kids in your basement, Dad." Dad let out an angry snarl and smashed my phone against the wall. After that, Sasha and I were grounded and weren't allowed to leave our rooms. Then a few days later, my mom came in holding a fancy dress. "Get dressed, Sasha, and come downstairs." We looked at each other without moving.
"Now."
There were a lot of people in our living room.
"Ah, there's my sunshine. Come, sit with me."
I felt like throwing up. My heart was pounding, and all eyes followed Sasha as she walked across the room. I recognized the guy next to Dad as his business partner, but I had no idea who everyone else was.
Ron has always been interested in marrying you to his son.
What? She was only 18. Sasha tried to get up, but Dad grabbed her hand and kept her from doing so. I was boiling inside. I wanted to tell them to get lost, but I knew that wouldn't end well. Mom and Dad were on their best behavior, and you'd think there couldn't be more loving parents in the world. It was an Oscar-worthy performance. After they left, Sasha stormed into my parents' room. How could you even think about marrying me off? And to that nincompoop? His family is really rich. He's a high school dropout. I plan on going to college, and I want a career. You can't do this to me.
Watch me.
I stood rooted in the corner. I couldn't let this happen. I had to do something to save my sister from this monster, our dad. That night, when I went to throw out the trash, the boy next door was in his yard. He smiled when he saw me. I walked straight to the trash cans, too afraid that Dad would see me. When I was walking back, I saw something on the fence that wasn't there before. I picked it up and ran up to my room. Over the next few days, he started leaving little swans for me to find. It was the sweetest thing. No matter how horrible my day had been, the swans would make me smile. Maybe one day I'd be able to talk to him. As the day of the wedding got closer, tensions rose higher. Dad got crazier, Sasha got angrier, and Mom just went about being a robot as usual. The day of the wedding arrived, and Dad was running around frantically, making sure everything was perfect. I walked into Sasha's room and gave her a tight hug. Listen to me carefully. I have a plan. The guests had arrived, and the groom and his family took their places. I knew everything was going according to plan when Mom came running in.
Why are you acting like a fool?
Sasha.
What happened to Sasha?
She's gone. She's run away.
What?
The groom and his family were livid. Ron grabbed my dad by the collar.
We've never been this humiliated in our life. You will pay for this. Please, Ron, we can work this out.
As I ran up to my room, I saw not one, but 8 swans, and my heart swelled. I didn't know how I'd ever thank the boy next door for helping me with my plan. I could hear Dad trashing the house downstairs. I needed to make Sasha run away on the wedding day, so Dad would be too ashamed to look for her and get her back. Just then, the door to my room opened. "Pack your things now. We're leaving." "What do you mean, leaving?" "You two have destroyed his reputation. Dad's lost his business partner, and you're asking why we're leaving?" With that, he slammed the door and left. Dad followed every move of mine like a hawk. I wasn't allowed to go to school on my own either. One day when I came back from school, Mom was sitting in the lounge, but she looked different. Dad walked in and sat on the couch.
Make me a cup of tea.
Mom didn't move.
Didn't you hear me? Make me a cup of tea.
I didn't know what was happening, but I was loving it.
Get out of my house, you cheater.
Dad was shocked. That's when I saw his phone in her hand. All this time, I thought the girls were lying. But this?
Get out. Get out. Now.
I thought Mom was going to pop a vein. I secretly hoped she'd kick my brother out too, but you can't get everything you want in life. Dad tried to fight back and feed her lies as usual, but she wasn't listening this time. When he realized there was no way out, he yelled,
"If I didn't need your money, I'd have left you a long time ago. You were always useless. And don't think you're going to get much from these ungrateful kids."
With that, he left, and that was the last I saw of him. Things started to get back on track. I had a life, friends, and a Facebook page. I started up my tutoring gig again, too. I was also able to track down Sasha eventually. I sent her a message on Facebook. I told her how Mom finally woke up and kicked Dad out, and how our brother was finding it difficult to adjust to life where he had to do his own chores. Even though Mom had finally done something brave, I could tell that she was depressed and heartbroken. I asked Sasha to come and see us. She had worked multiple jobs to put herself through college and was about to graduate. I was so happy for her. A few weeks later, the doorbell rang and I ran to the door. I let out a cry of joy when I saw it was Sasha. Mom heard the noise and came running to us too, crying happy tears as she took Sasha in her arms. As she wiped her tears, Sasha turned to me with a smile. "There's someone waiting for you outside." I stepped out onto the porch to see. It was the boy from next door. He was holding a paper swan. I smiled at him and held out my hand where he gently set it. "Let's go for a walk. I'd love to finally get to know you."